Today's video is all about Movement, an L1, L2 software blockchain solution that is keeping us in disbelief. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, the overall value proposition, ultimately trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunity, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 PM EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, today's video is going to be an interesting one because, of course, we're trying to figure out whether movement is an opportunity. And, you know, of course, there's a lot to be said here, guys. This is one of the harder deep dives that I've ever done, given the current circumstances. Now, I don't want the current circumstances to basically, fog what we think about the project fundamentally, but then again, it does impact the fundamentals, guys. If anything, you got to wait to the end, watch till the end, because we'll be discussing exactly how the recent events are impacting movement as a project, as an investment, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's continue here, guys. Just as a reminder, I'm going to be doing this from a retail perspective, in the sense that, you know, we have a lot of newcomers coming into this space. We're trying to figure out whether projects have what it takes, if they're fundamentally bullish, if they have the actual fundamentals. So I want to make sure that I am preparing this content in the sense that, from a retail perspective, does the team give us every single piece of information that we need to get fundamentally bullish via website, via socials, blog posts, all the works. We'll go through it all and see what I can come up with, and see if we can actually, score some points here for movement. Desperately needs a few points. All right, guys, let's continue. Let's see. We're going to use the main website here as the main platform, and we'll kind of scrape through. We can see that we got some good topics above that we'll touch upon in a second, but let's just kind of scrape through this website. Decently built website, nice, engaging, nice and colorful. I guess that's good, not too distracting. The Movement Foundation is a driving force behind the movement ecosystem, dedicated to fostering innovation, supporting developers, and advancing the adoption of Move virtual machine technology. Super important to understand what Move VM actually really is. It is, in fact, its proprietary own L1 blockchain that is meant to be coming out very soon. And just understand at the current moment, it is also an L2 for Ethereum, which is where we're getting the majority of the utility at the current moment. So this is also important because Move, not only is it coming up with its own L1 blockchain with its own virtual machine, it is currently as L2 using the Ethereum EVM, Ethereum virtual machine EVM. Okay, so we touched upon that, so at least we can build that context with regards to its utility and its ecosystem possibilities. The network Move Mint is a cutting-edge solution built using the Move virtual machine. Just again, mainnet has not launched. A lot of people are still waiting to get some clarification with regards to the airdrop. According to the team, the airdrop that was promised when the mainnet was going to be launched is currently still in the works, and it is going to happen according to the team. Okay, so this is also important. Go check out those socials. They're making announcements. They're trying to clarify things. And I think right now, it's obviously, if you've been following what's going on with Move, it's a very important time, especially if you're an investor or a stakeholder into this project, that you keep up with what's happening, with the latest events. Okay, so that's important. It's scalable, power efficient, scalability for creating next generation of decentralized applications. As many L1s and many projects say, that's the objective. That's what they're trying to achieve as well. Explore the innovative decentralized applications built in the movement ecosystem. We'll talk about the ecosystem in a second, but you can see that there are a lot of projects currently, being built. Small projects, small little, projects that are definitely coming up with new software solutions that are being built exclusively to the Move network, which is good. And we'll explore those in a bit, of course. And that concludes the website. At the bottom here, you can see the footer is well established, in the sense that you get a lot of links that you could use for further research, like learning, community, terms of service, but some others, of course, events, if you want to know what's going on there, policy, the white papers. They have a very technical white paper, and as per usual, I do appreciate the Gitbook version because you can search it easier, you can, get more graphics and so on and so forth, but usually they're pretty much replicas. And in this case, I chose to stick with the typical Git book style of white paper or documentation. Feel free to go check out their white paper, but I took a look and it's fairly similar, guys. Faucet deep dive. If you want to know more about the project, they offer a lot of different resources, but from a technical perspective. And as you guys know, these deep dives are not tech deep dives. These are crypto deep dives. More importantly, move deep dives, not even movement in itself, because of course, movement, as a team or as a, network, a foundation is important. But from a token perspective or a coin perspective, what does the coin or token have? What utility does it have in order for us to be willing or wanting to buy in and accumulate? That's the main objective of these deep dives. So I'm going to be sticking with, that typical format that I use, right? Guilds, in terms of ecosystem, we'll talk about that. Developers and the move drop, which a lot of people are talking about. Of course, let's take a look at what's going on there. I don't think I have this tab open. Let's quickly get into this. The move drop. Okay, so they're basically waiting for the general public is waiting for these drops to happen, and you can see that they're giving away a few little other incentives, trophies, medals, and so on, and trying to bring a little bit of hype into the drop, into the mainnet launch, which is good, of course, from a marketing perspective, and so on. Okay, so I'm glad I looked at that, but still, there's a lot to be said. If we get into that, documentation aspect of things, I like the Gitbook style of documentation. Why? Because you can ask questions. Some of them are also integrating AI, which is good. And in addition to that, you can search through it if you're looking for keywords for your research. So I encourage that not only do you use this, but I encourage that teams, projects use this, because I think it's a very valuable tool instead of just a standalone PDF. All right, guys, let's kind of go through the more important tabs here on the left, and you can see that the vision for movement is right here. So let's get started. If we click here, you can see I've got a few tabs here: the faucet, the vision, the architecture, developers, and so on. I want to get into the introduction. I just want to get into the most important things here. Movement Labs is building a network of move-based blockchains. Our flagship products is the Movement Mainnet, okay, which hasn't been released just yet. Movement Mainnet is a community-first blockchain providing the highest possible TPS through Move. Of course, this is something that a lot of blockchains are talking about: the fastest finality, native day zero access to mass liquidity, and modular customization. The modular programming aspect of projects have been coming very, very popular in the last little while, which is of course a future-proof design that is meant to allow the blockchains to upgrade easily and so on and so forth. So I appreciate this idea. If we go down even further, Move is a safe and secure programming language. So this is a proprietary language, just not to Move, but to many L1s that have come out this cycle. Sui and Aptos particularly, that are definitely one of the heavy hitters in the scene. So basically it is a language that was designed by the Facebook team for smart contracts to emphasize ownership and safety. Assets in Move are represented in resources. So if you want to know more a little bit about what that means with regards to EVM compatibility and the overall Move language and its runtime, feel free to check this out. You can make those comparisons yourself. But really, the logic here is that Move is a easier, more interesting, or more a better, according to the team, a better language to deploy smart contracts. And we've seen a lot of good projects totally embrace that language and doing very well. Also, we just got to see if ecosystem growth is going to get impacted by the choice of using a unique, non-EVM, in this case, language. Okay, so let's move on from there. What else we got? Technical details, guys. I don't want to get into too much of this. Like I mentioned, it's not a tech deep dive. It's a crypto deep dive. So what we really want to know is, from a technical perspective, move allows the execution of both move VM virtual machine and the EVM bytecode, which is great because that means you get best of both worlds. You're basically a cross chain, and that's one of its major value propositions, that it decided that it wants to be a network that it embraces all kinds of different blockchains. So interoperability, the move executor, the fast finality settlement module, and the decentralized shard sequencer. Each of these components plays a crucial role in ensuring the operation of the move based chains, but of course it basically infuses that interoperability aspect in security and performance. So this is part of their main value proposition with regards to tech. As you can see, EVM and move VM, two virtual machines executing different transactions. Okay, so that's that. Fast finality, FFS, this is something that a lot of blockchains offer. Of course, they be critical, of course, on speeds, and there's lots of different blockchains with speed. Comparison with ZK and optimistic rollup, so they have a security mechanism that they, that is unique to them. It's ZK and optimistic rollups. It's different than that, so it has its own proprietary, technology or tech stack. And in this case, they do to try to compare the comparison between ZK and optimistic rollup. So feel free to go and look into that. How are they doing their security mechanisms and so on? Decentralized shard sequencer. This component is decentralized and sharded sequencing mechanism to enhance the network robustness, fairness, and censorship resistance. So a lot of good tech here, but again, I don't want to get into too much detail here. Good stuff there. The framework, again, the move stack, the tech stack, the executor, the sequencer, and all of this kind of things that we just yapped about a little bit. Guys, this is where we're at. Data availability, L1 contracts, this is, you're getting a bit technical here, and I'm not here to get too technical. You can see you got their validators, the ZK prover marketplace, the optimistic challengers, and the contracts, the user, and you can see that there's a lot of happening here. The sharding, there's just a lot. Okay, this is the movement network in its basic form as far as tech stack goes, and the different chains that they plan on having within the move ecosystem. Okay, so again, slow and steady transaction life cycle. If you want to get into the different, they kind of summarize this, and they say that it's a very important thing to understand, but it's not that difficult. You have the submission, the sequencing, the data of publication. So this is a very typical rundown of their transaction life cycle. And if you want to know more, I would say spend a few hours here digging through this. I'm not going to do it here live because this deep dive would be super long. So interoperability, again, a little bit of repetition because we've already established that one of its focuses are to be interoperable. The movement network leverages mechanisms to ensure robust interoperability and high security across its ecosystem. We talked about that with the decentralized sequencer and the multi-sig asset staking. The shared decentralized sequencer utilizes a POS system allowing for multi-asset staking to enhance economic security. This is interesting for sure, and that's about it. That concludes their tech. Okay, a little bit of their tech. Now, unfortunately, within a deep dive like this, or when we're looking at documentation, even a white paper for that matter, usually we get into some sort of tokenomics, right? And a little bit more other than just tech. And that's an unfortunate thing. So I had to go and look for, other sources. Now, this is where I came down to the more token aspect, the tokenomics. The ticker is MOVE. Okay, now the website is a little bit funky. I'm not sure if this is by design or not, but it's a little bit funky. And just keep in mind, this is an article somewhere that I found on their blog, which I found to be not the greatest implementation, November 25th, 2024. So it's not that old, but nonetheless, they were gearing towards something new, given the fact our mainnet is coming out very soon, apparently. Okay, so this is something that I had to stick in there. Apparently, we don't know what's happening with Move just yet. guys, stay with me here towards the end. We'll talk about all this uncertainty that we've been facing in the last little while with Move. Okay, so with the Movement Network's public mainnet coming soon, Movement Network Foundation now unveils Move. Okay, so this is old. This is when they went mainnet. This is when they basically released a token, TGE. Okay, so token generation event. Movement Network Public Mainnet is the first Move blockchain that settles to Ethereum, aiming to deliver high TPS, improving security and near instant finality. Okay, interesting stuff here. Now, if we look at what's going on with regards to tokenomics, remember TGE, if I'm not mistaken, it was in December, the actual event where liquidity was provided to the token. I have the date for you coming up very soon, so don't worry, the exact date of TGE. But this project is not old, okay? It's very, very, very new. And just keep in mind that tokenomics, from particularly a large project with a large market cap that is new, the only way they were able to achieve that market cap is to have a market, basically to inflate the market via VCs, market makers, liquidity providers, just definitely prop up the price. And this is what we've been seeing in the last little while. But nonetheless, we'll get into that more in a second. Ticker Move, maximum supply, 10 billion Move tokens are in max supply, and percentage to the Movement Network community. This is great that they have it there. 60% is meant to go to the overall community. Okay, that's quite a bit. That's healthy. That sounds good. Now we have token decimals. Okay, float 22.5. What does float mean? We'll talk about that in a second. Token sharding network, we already talked about ERC20 and the coming soon native L1 blockchain that they are going to be releasing soon. Okay, so again, a roadmap would be nice. There was no official roadmap issued by the team, so this is also very concerning, given that this is a dire moment to have a roadmap, so that the stakeholders, the community, people trying to figure out whether they should buy, they actually know where their efforts are being placed. But their socials are very clear. Okay, again, we'll get into more about what's been happening recently. Move will have a maximum supply of 10 billion tokens with an initial circulating supply of 22.5 Move. So this is a bit of a scenario. Okay, so they basically have a max supply, no doubt, which is fine, and it's a large amount, but that doesn't matter because, again, it's an ecosystem project. It's going to be a massive L1, blah, 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 a lot of good stuff there. So they need the tokens, but ultimately their initial circulating supply was 22.5. And the question usually is, when I do deep dives, is where are these tokens being allocated, number one, and number two, who's in control of them? This is where I criticize this is where majority of my deep dive, if you look at all my deep dives, what I do is I ask myself, who's in control of these tokens? So in the initial supply, were they initially distributed, or were they given to the foundation? Were they given to the team? Who were they given to? So we're going to try our best to make some sense out of this. Move will be available and represented on Ethereum mainnet. So that's where they are right now. Okay. Which means that they're still an ERC20 contract, and this is what we're currently investing in. Okay, following Movement Network Public Mainnet, Move will also be available on the Movement Network. So as this happens, as we transition or include the L1, then some of that liquidity will flow over. I'm assuming that's what they mean by that. The majority of the Move, 60% will be allocated to the Movement Network community, which is in regular terms really healthy. That's really good, right? We want that 60% for the community. We want the ecosystem, the community, the foundation, and all of these different categories, to receive some of this liquidity. Why? Because we support ecosystem growth, we support the community, right? We should support the foundation, and I say should because we have to discuss this in a bit of detail, because the foundation generally should be working for the community and the ecosystem, and in general the project, right? It's not like it's an individual centralized identity. It shouldn't be made up of founders and early investors and VCs. This should be a decentralized DAO, decentralized autonomous organization, where governance is controlled by token holders. And this is a very important thing. So a lot of the criticism currently at the moment is the initial circulating supply. Was that something that was proposed to the token holders, or was this something that was just done without foundation support? Or when was this, and who made the decision for this 22.5%? Okay, that's a significant amount, right? Especially at TGE, especially in the beginning, right? This initial circulating supply. That means at the initial moments, you already have enough tokens out there, to cause a bit of a problem unless they are locked within a vesting schedule, which will improve the risk of that dilution. Okay, so we gotta kind of like discuss this. We'll do our best with the data they give us, and this is the one of the bigger problems with a lot of these projects, is that they don't really give you very much clarity, and that leaves us a little bit ambiguous. And then when there's ambiguity, you start to question, why aren't they being clear and transparent about how tokens are being distributed? Okay, let us continue. Across ecosystem, okay, that's that. Now, if you kind of look at what's going on here, initial claims, what is it? Ecosystem community, okay, that's fine. We support that 100%. The foundation, they give the foundation 10%. Who is the foundation at the current moment? This is a little bit of an issue. Early backers, 22.5%. This is where things start to get a little bit iffy, because it could be that there's a, basically it's a coincidence that maybe the early backers 22.5 and the initial circulating supply is 22.5. Is that a coincidence, or is that the reality of that this early backers, the initial circulating supply was given to early backers? This is something that, maybe I just found a connection here that it's not clear, and we'll discuss this as below, because they do describe each category in a little bit of detail, but they don't describe who is in control of that 22.5% and how they were how are they in distribution. Very, very important. Now, there's some data or some information that we can use to conclude that perhaps some of this 22.5% basically came from the ecosystem and maybe into the foundation category. And again, it's based on the current vesting. But again, there's a lot of ambiguity here, so a little bit iffy. Now, let's continue going down. Movement network, you can see the token unlock based on vesting. The reality is that this thing is so fresh. It's not even in a level of the majority of the unlocks coming in yet. And I'm going to show you a bit of a metric or a chart that will kind of describe this a bit further. We're a few months into the TGE, into the vesting schedule, which means that we got some more time here. You can see foundation. Can I make this bigger? No, you can't. Initial claims, foundation, early investors, backers, early contributors, ecosystem community, which is the yellow, which is the bigger part. But you can see the green, which is the early backers, tend to get their capital into here and get quite a bit of it until about 60 months, 65 months. Okay, so this technically over time should be healthy. This is the thing. This would have been okay, if it wasn't the fact of the recent events. The recent events definitely put a bit of a spin on what's going on here. Now, ecosystem plus community, this is going to describe what that exact allocation. Now, this is where we have to pay attention a little bit, because ecosystem and community represents 40%, and we saw that staking rewards, okay, ecosystem initiatives, but look at the last point, incentivize and liquidity provisioning. Revised for future distribution of incentives for usage of the network, and to provide liquidity to bootstrap the movement network DeFi ecosystem. Now, is this part of the tokens that were given to market makers? Because a lot of the times L1s or big projects, they want a market maker. They need a market maker just to balance the books. In other words, the order books, to make the price have a little bit of stability, not so much craziness out there. But that's their role, and they get paid or they get incentivized to do that through the spreads. That's usually how it works. Now, and in this case, there is a bit of an issue here, because if the capital that market makers were given came from this category, it is a lot of token to consider. 22.5% that was issued earlier on, and it could be that's where they came from. And then the question is, of those 22%, how much was given to market makers? Guys, in this case, a lot of ambiguity. Okay, just tons. There's no clarity here. Initial claims 10%. The move tokens will be distributed to the movement network community through the move drop and initial claims incentives. So activities. So this is good. This is good. We know that the move token is coming, the move mainnet is coming out, and they have some capital reserve for that to happen, to give some tokens away and airdrop and all this. This is what the current community right now, this is what they're worried about, that they're not going to be getting these any moment soon, but the team is definitely active saying that they're working on it. So let's see what happens there. Now the foundation, 10% is reserved for the foundation. Network foundation has a managed growth, development, decentralized of movement network. Now this is not an effect at all at the current moment. So this is the problem, is that we're seeing a lot of their documentation, a lot of even communication on socials by others, believing that there is a foundation that is decentralized. You know, the foundation, the DAO does not exist. There's no platform to actually vote on proposals or even, you know, request or, you know, suggest proposal. You can't get involved, right? So this is a bit of an issue, because a lot of people are currently saying, who is calling the shots? Right? How are we making decisions? Who's making the decisions? And if there's no foundation or a decentralized autonomous organization, if there's no DAO established, the foundation is usually made up of team, early stakeholders, VCs, and so on. So a very centralized organization. And again, this is something that I look for and on every single deep dive. It's not just Move, it's not just this project, because currently this is a hottest topic right now. It's what's going on with the foundation and what's going on with you know, the governance aspect of this project and the token. There is none, guys. There is no governance. Nothing has been established with regards to governance yet. So, you know, we're relying on the team. And then, of course, we got to look into the team. We got to go see, is the team valuable, valid? Does it have what it takes? To, you know, and even on paper, they could. But the question is, are they sound with regards to the decision making? Okay, we'll touch upon that in a second, because we definitely have to look into the team. And I'll tell you, the team is solid. Okay, this team is good. Like, there's no real reason to be worried about the team. We'll jump right into the team soon, very soon. Early contributors, that's quite a bit. So who is in this? Engineers, product, community, marketing. They got to get paid. Teams got to get paid. We get it. They're working hard, sometimes without any pay for a good amount of time, you know, and eventually when things get established and developed and, you know, there's some working product, they want to get paid. And we have to understand that. Early backers, 22.5% Move tokens are reserved for early backers of the Movement Network, who have provided financial, advisory, and strategic support to the Movement Network. Who are these people? Okay, and are they market makers part of this category, or is that category come from, you know, the liquidity provisions provided by this section right here, right? So liquidity provisioning. Okay, so again, a little bit of uncertainty, because right now this is the thing. Token utility. So very typical. I'm going to run through this real quick because it's very typical. Staking, okay, gas fees, governance, not happening right now. So this should be with a huge disclaimer that it's in the works. It doesn't say that. Or, you know, someone that's coming into this space might think, oh, they have governance. They're already decentralized. They don't have this yet. It's not implemented without a roadmap. This is deceiving. Okay, so this is a bit of a problem here. Native assets on Movement Network. You can Move is expected to have its native asset on the Movement Network. Applications built on the Move Network can use Move for asset liquidity, collateral payment. So what basically they're saying, that Move is going to drive the network in the future, especially particularly the L1, not the L2 aspect of the project. Okay, this is their roadmap. Now their roadmap is very broad. This is not necessarily even a roadmap, I wouldn't even consider, because you don't know where the beginning and the end is. You don't know exactly what phase we are currently in. We don't know, like, move stack, EVM, so maybe we're here or here, multi-staking. You know, this is the thing, guys. There's nothing really happening here. This is TGE. Okay, so this was back in December, and then where are we? Fast finality. I'm assuming that the settlement is done. I'm assuming that this is all done. I really don't know, and there's not enough information and no dates, not even quarterly, yearly, to say, you know, by 2026, this and that, this is what we want to achieve. Nothing is here, so let's move on. And then we conclude pretty much here with a few little statements about the Movement Network TGE strategy emphasizes on importance of launching Move, the native token for the movement network. We understand that. Okay, so mainnet Genesis, they're working towards that. Deposit contract on Ethereum mainnet, bridging Move to the movement network. So they want to be able to provide bridging from Move on L2 Ethereum to L1, onboarding validators, enabling staking, adding slashing mechanisms for, I guess, validators, and Move stack share. There's a lot here. Their EVM, something to look forward to. They need to have that, of course, as they release their L1. So this is it, guys. Closing thoughts. Feel free to read it, and you can see there is some grayness, particularly with the tokenomics. Okay, so where does this 22% go? Who's in charge of it? Is this 22% early backers? Are these, if they are the early backers, oh fine, they're going to get issued later, sequentially over time in a vesting schedule. But then again, this doesn't seem like it's the case. It seems like the case is that the initial supply that entered the market at TGE 22.5 is not this right here, is not that portion that we're talking about here at the bottom. It's actually a different portion. It just happens to be that the number is very similar. I don't like the design of this communication at all. Okay, it seems very deceiving. But again, what do I know? Guys, it is from a retail perspective. If a retailer came in here on this website trying to do some research, they shouldn't have to be forensics to really understand what's going on here. You know, black and white and yellow. It's right here. Let's move on. Okay, so if I did do a little bit of forensics, guys, I didn't want to get into a crazy deep dive with regards to token distribution. Okay, I did kind of look at their, like, typically look at their holders and their wallets. Okay, just gonna throw this out there because again, based on the current events, we're really, you know, trying to figure out what has happened with regard to some of the tokens in the last little while. So you can see that we do have a big wallet right here. This is the foundation wallet, approximately 69%, 70%. The rest of them are distributed amongst few wallets. The second big wallet right here with the 6.7% has an interesting track record. And again, you can click here and check it out, and you can do your own little forensics. I'm just going to say that, you know, there is a wallet in here. Okay, there's a wallet in here that has been transacting with one of, let's put this properly, has been responsible for some of the sell pressure at the exact moment where Move happened to fall critically in the last 48 hours. Okay, so this is an important thing because this is a top wallet and you can see the transaction based on the sell that happened on chain with that, you know, with that break of structure that we've seen in the last 48 hours, guys. There's a little bit of some fishy transactions happening here. Okay, so again, I'm not a forensics guy here with regards to blockchain, but I don't like that connection. And of course, with some of the members on the Discord, we were able to conclude that there was some fishy business happening here. Guys, you can take it to the next level. I'm not. This is it. We do see a connection between an individual wallet that happened to dump exactly where we broke below. And I'm going to show you the charts at the end of the video, and we'll talk about charts and price action. But this individual is definitely transacting with this second largest wallet here on record. Okay, so very important. The rest of the wallets are fairly distributed, very small, and you can see they seem very healthy for the most part, not too bad. But the rest of it, guys, if the foundation is currently, you know, Network Foundation 1 has 70%, do we trust the foundation without the DAO? How do we trust what's going on here with such a centralized distribution at the current moment? Okay, so let's move on. And not only the DAO, like, is it a multi-sig wallet? Where are all these tokens? I don't know, guys. Okay, let's move on. Let's see what else we got here. We got the ecosystem. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what's going on with the actual growth of the project itself and its network effect capabilities. We can see if you explore their ecosystem, they got a lot of small little projects, which is great. It's much more than we could expect from even other projects out there. We got wallets, BitGet Wallet is all involved, and you can see multiple pages of nice little, you know, applications. I have zero experience with a lot of these, just to throw that out there. However, this is typical, and not only that, we have to understand that it is EVM compatible. So because of that, it is very easy to grow a ecosystem because projects projects, smart contracts are built using the EVM, which is Solidity language, which is basically easy, frictionless cross-chain capabilities. So for me, this is great. That's a good decision to be EVM, but then again, also integrating their own L1, proprietary language with its own value proposition is also quite interesting, and allowing those assets to bridge natively is also quite interesting and healthy. So you can see their ecosystem is nice. There's lots of things happening here, small projects, but even the gorillas, you can see a gorilla movement, lots of good stuff happening there, but slow and steady. Okay, so let's move on from there. I like that. I like the fact that they got a lot of little things happening. And then their blog, they got some announcements here, guys. Again, if you want to know more about the foundation, announces the third-party review into external market maker abnormalities. Guys, there has been a few abnormalities in the last little while with regards to Move, unfortunately, but that's what it is. They made a statement, on April 20th, and so on. So go check it out. And I'm glad to see that they do provide a little bit of communication here with regards to many things. The cornucopia, have on NFTs and so on. TGE is here. Okay, all kinds of stuff there. Okay, so let's move on. And back to socials. What I got here, their socials are quite good in the sense that they got 200,000 followers pretty much. They do provide a lot of, the ticker is Move, so you can check that out if you want to know more about Move. When was this? November 25th, so it's a little bit old. That's probably just a rundown of what I just discussed. Go check it out. And you can see they have been keeping up with the overall ecosystem and keeping everybody up to date with what's been happening, having some fun. Look at all these little characters they got going on here. Very typical. I appreciate the effort here that the social, the team that handles the socials, they're definitely trying to engage. Guys, we got to appreciate it, but at the end of the day, execution matters, guys. Execution. We're slowly getting into what we need to focus on. Just to continue here, one more shot here with regards to tokenomics. If you want to see what I was referring to with regards to vesting, if you kind of see here, we definitely are fully in circulation with regards to initial claims. Okay, so this 10% is out there, and then we have the 2% here hodler vesting at TGE. Okay, and then we have this, right, it's currently being unlocked, and then soon we'll have these unlocks happening right into here. So you can see slow and steady unlocked. We're about 25%, 24.5% unlocked. 75% is still locked. So, from a tokenomics perspective, as a new project, this is typical, very, very typical. And again, we start to question, where are all the tokens that are unlocked? All these right here. This is 12, you know what I mean? This and that, 10 initial claims. Where will they all go? Ecosystem community, look, 12% right here. Are they all into here? But at TGE, don't forget, 22.5% was already released. So where did those go? What's going on here? This is something that we got to understand. And I can't find any clarity here. So let's move on. And the team, we have the team right here. Rushi Manshi is a co-founder with Cooper. Scanlon is another co-founder. And then we got some heavyweights, head of research and head of strategy. Let's take a look at who these individuals are. Let's begin by looking at one of the co-founders here. This is the Movement Labs. Okay, so this is interesting because you can see that they have a decent amount of employees, 49 associate members of all kinds of different talent. I must say, you got engineers, blockchain engineers, software engineers with PhDs. You got lots of history on different type of Web3 different applications, Web3 applications everywhere. They got lots of experience, lots of talent, senior project coordinators at Blizzards, and lots of different crypto strategists, engineering, blah, blah, blah. Guys, they got it. Okay, so this is the thing here. It's a full-on team. Now, the thing is, it always takes maybe one or two individuals to drag an entire team down, and this is what we're currently trying to figure out. Okay, I'm slowly leading into some of the major current events that have been crippling Move in the last little while. Let's continue going down now. Cooper is one of the co-founders. I'm just going to throw this out there. And as you go and on his page, you don't have much supporting Move developers. Okay. And then you have Move experience, cooking, doing stuff, doing things, And yeah, that, this is not really professional. Founder and organizer, I don't see any type of validity as far as professionalism or sincerity in any of this. So it's either maybe he just doesn't want to be doxxed, which is fine. And I would say this co-founder is not doxxed unless we can get some of his work history and maybe some of his education, and verify a little bit of that, right? That's the way it's done, guys. We got to be very critical. We got to play hard to get with our capital. And at the end of the day, if he's going to be the face of an organization, even if it's meant to be decentralized, it would be nice to know a little bit about his track record, right? Guys, this current events have proven that we need to be this way, unfortunately. Okay, now this heavyweight right here, I kind of appreciate his style. He's got a lot happening here. He's definitely active here. He's taking the time to show us his talents, which I appreciate. You can see head of research at Movement Labs, blockchain research, universities all over the place, software engineer, associate professor. Guys, this is what I want to see. At least there's an engineer and some sort of educated individual with a bit of history that we can say, okay, he's got something to discuss and bring to the table. Okay, so that's good. And then we continue. Brian H, product and tech, another heavyweight that I feel like is definitely a valuable individual, especially with his work history and experience. Head of product and strategy, head of ecosystem at Sui Foundation. Okay, interesting. So it seems like they are collaborating or cooperating with Sui as an ecosystem. Pretty good, because they both use the Move, ecosystem. But you can see he was there for about 7 months. You have director of development relations at a different laboratory, Chia Network, and you'll have a senior engineer manager developer relationships at Coinbase. And there's more, guys. I don't, you can keep on going, and Uber and you name it, guys. This guy's a heavyweight for sure with regards to tech. Engineer manager. I'm not going to get into more of that because you can see he's well established, and university, PhD computer science all over the place. So good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Now, this. Okay, this individual is another co-founder. Okay, Rishi. I'm not going to come down hard on him because right now I think the community and the general public is coming down hard on him already. Okay, but we got to call it what it is. Okay, this individual currently, he's one of the co-founders of Movement Labs. So he's a software and engineer. He's the founder and self-employed of this type of tutoring service, another software engineer, full stack developer. So he has the history, and his education here is definitely activities in society. He dropped out apparently here. I don't know if he dropped out or not. I'm not sure, but he attended this university for a little while, or maybe graduated. I don't know. Licensing, he has some Python learning at Udemy, French language, and New Jersey state of New Jersey. Skills, endorsements. This is what we want to see. He's endorsed by a few individuals, University of Chicago. He's interested there, in United Health Group. Okay, so he's an engineer, software individual, definitely PhD, someone that has a lot of some experience within the industry. We appreciate it. Okay, no doubt. Now, guys, for the heavy issue. Okay, and like this was one of the hardest deep dives, because usually at this point, okay, I'm ready to give you my summary. And unfortunately, I gotta, put this in just for transparency and for the realization, because my summary is gonna have to kind of like integrate some of this and at the same time, ignore some of this. And the reason why is because none of this has been really been formal enough to say, yes, this content or this information is 100% valid. Okay, so it's still under investigation. And until proven guilty, until we can actually prove some of these facts and bring more clarity. And again, guys, I'm not saying that this is the most current. I'm not saying that I'm the most knowledgeable in the current events of what's happening in the Move. Feel free to make this a community-driven thing, join the Discord, comment below if there's information that I am even missing out that you feel like needs to be discussed. But I feel like this deep dive needs a little bit of this to premise the risk associated to being a move holder. Okay, this is so important. So recently, this is what happened. Movement Labs suspended co-founder amid marketing making scandal. So amid a marketing, market making scandal, one of the co-founders has been suspended. Rushi has been suspended, the individual that I spoke about last. Following the controversy surrounding alleged tokens dumping by the market maker. Okay, so the decision comes as Coinbase announced to suspend all trading of Move tokens starting May 15. Now, what we have to be very clear about is the language, suspending trading. A lot of the talk was about delisting. Now, again, I am not going to battle whether it's being delisted or suspended, or if after May 15th, they will decide whether they're going to be delisting or right now, suspension, I think, is all that we have achieved. At the end of the day, guys, this is the problem. It's got suspended because of some issues regarding a market maker that was dumping tokens from day one. Okay, that's why the move chart looked like absolute trash. Okay, so then from that point on, there was some involvement with other exchanges, Binance particular. Here we can read, according to Binance's March findings, a market maker allegedly sold 66 million Move tokens, netting 38 million USDT in profit. Okay, so this is important. So Binance actually found these individuals or this market maker early and basically blacklisted their wallet. Where in this case, Move, the foundation or the team or whatever, they didn't make this a very public thing. And in fact, they just brushed it off. And then Coinbase just put the nail in the coffin just recently, 2 days ago, and said, you know what, we're going to investigate this, but we are suspending and perhaps, completely delisting. Market reacted. Now, market reacted primarily based on fear. Okay, we have to understand that, the fear that hits the market with such events is, very strong, more magnitude than a coin listing on an exchange. In fact, because fear is powerful, guys. So the market reacted in a very fearful way. Now, with the bigger issue here is you're probably questioning, why is Rushi being suspended? It's because potentially he was potentially, we don't know for sure. He was the one involved with the making of the contract with that market maker, which is a bit of a problem. Reports suggest Movement Labs signed an agreement with Rentec, basically misrepresented as a Web3 port subsidiary, but apparently is a separate entity with no digital presence. So basically, who created that contract? Now, I'm not talking about a contract. I'm talking up as a business-to-business written paper contract where somebody signs on the dotted line. This is still a business. Movement Labs is still a business until it completely decentralizes its organization with a DAO. And even still with that, we have to understand there's a degree of decentralization, right? This is how we bring, projects like this that are run by teams into the decentralized world by slowly decentralizing it through the DAO and other aspects of its its existence, like token distribution, and even its actual tech can be decentralized and so on. But from a organizational perspective, if one individual can go sign on a dotted line, it's very centralized. Now, the argument is that the whole team was involved and appreciated this contract. And basically, the contract revealed that Rentec controlled approximately 5% of the Move supply, with incentives to inflate the token's price to a $5 billion evaluation, basically before dumping it, which was quite annoying because what was actually detailed in the contract was that the profits, in this case $38 million, would have been split between the Movement Labs team and Rentec. So there was an actual incentive for both parties to pump the price to that level and then essentially sell off, because Movement Labs would be benefiting from that profit. Now, again, I'm going to just continue saying this, is that none of this is really confirmed with 100-degree certainty. This is what everybody in the current market is talking about, and this is the information that most retail investors are currently getting access to, right? We're not talking about insider information or, you know, the latest information currently on the desk. We're talking about information that is currently circulating for the regular retail investor. And as I mentioned, this is a deep dive regarding retail investor perspective. So Move has fallen 19.9% over the last 24 hours. In fact, even more, guys. I'm just going to throw this out there. The volatility on that token right now, on that coin, is quite there. So we have to understand that even my some of my numbers that I'm throwing at you guys, you take it with a grain of salt because of the volatility. So it came down to approximately 20 cents, actually below 20 cents in the last little while, with a market cap of $500 million. Guys, the volatility and the craziness is here. So we have to really figure out what happened here. Was this, you know, something that was just pure, you know, incompetence by the team? Who was in charge? Was it incompetence by the entire team? One team member? Was there a team member that went rogue? Was this just, you know, a matter of a mistake and a misunderstanding, poor legal, you know, counsel? What was the issue here? Now, regardless, it's the team's fault. It's unfortunate, but it is 100% the team's fault, because the teams takes, especially without a proper decentralized organization. And I still say that even with that, it's still not. But who signs on the dotted line? Who hires the legal counsel to read over the contract and make sure that it's a valid contract that is going to benefit all parties? This was the issue. I don't think anybody did their due diligence, because if they would have, this wouldn't be the case. This wouldn't have been a problem. Okay, so right now, this is what's causing the price to fall, and this is what's causing all that negative sentiment at the current moment. All right, guys, so as per usual, I do release a summary of my overview of the project. Here it is. Let's begin. Let's see what we got here. So the ecosystem, I like the ecosystem. And just keep in mind, guys, as I continue going on, I'm trying to be very neutral about the current events, because again, we don't know much of what's happening, and we can have a full recovery, and we'll discuss some of this, the possibilities and the reality behind that, if it is possible. But I'm going to try to ignore some of those allegations, because at the current moment they're allegations, but then again, they're real numbers, guys, because the project is being dumped on. Okay, so it's a tough one. Just hear me out here. This was one of the hardest deep dives I had to do because of the ambiguity. Ecosystem, 8 out of 10. We got a decent 160 different projects, small projects though. So, which again, I appreciate. We need a breakthrough project, a breakthrough, something that's really going to break through and show us what this project really has to make. So we have Meridian, which is staking. We have Avidus, which is trading, and interest protocol, lending, and borrowing protocols. Interesting, very useful. Usually it's DeFi that leads the ecosystem growth anyway. So I appreciate it, but a lot of small projects, still nothing really major breakthrough yet. Utility. Okay, so we're talking about the fact that we have some staking happening capabilities, gas fees, medium of exchange when mainnet is launched. But then again, you know, the looming issue, which is governance. A lot of people say that if the governance was established appropriately and accordingly, we wouldn't be, Move wouldn't be in its current state, which, you know what, I tend to say there's a higher degree of certainty that it wouldn't be in this state for sure. So this is where we are, guys. You know, governance not established. There's no governance yet. Okay, so guys, it is what it is. 8 out of 10, maybe even 7 out of 10. Now, again, this was a tough one. Roadmap, no roadmap. However, achieved many milestones. I'll give them credit for that. From a tech stack perspective, they did accomplish quite a bit from a technology perspective. And I don't doubt that they would be ready for mainnet launch. And if it wasn't for this mishap. Now, upcoming events such as airdrops or anything related to the mainnet could be, okay, delayed. Okay, this is what I mean. You just be understand. Will be delayed. There will be some delays. There will be some issues, guys. We don't even know if it's gonna survive at this point. We got to be real. I know the team is very optimistic and positive. We've seen that before. It's time for you to get defensive. It's time for you to really be thinking about both sides of this of the story and just allocate yourself accordingly. It would be absolutely healthy for you to kind of like, let's say hypothetically, get into a break-even scenario and just wait for this to get resolved. It's not, there's nothing wrong with that. And any team member, or any individual that is completely sold on movement would have to understand that that's the reality. It's about risk to reward. And right now it's a 50-50 for me. Okay, so the roadmap would help, but again, the roadmap right now not only didn't exist, but it could be thrown out the window given the recent events. Team, look, this was a tough one because not only do I give it 9 out of 10, because I went through all the team members and I just focused on the main team members, even though the one co-founder is, not very serious, which I'm not happy. I should have given it an 8 out of 10, but I gave him a 9. I gave the team a 9 out of 10 because a co-founder shouldn't be acting like that. If you want someone to be bullish on what you have and bring to the table, especially a multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar project, you need to be able to put your money where your mouth is and show us what you got, especially if there's no governance or DAO. If we're relying on you to make decisions, who are you, right? So this is what we need to start doing here, guys, in this space. We need to start looking for serious team members because, as you can see, this is what happens. They make contracts that are not serious, right? So lots of talent, lots of other talent in the field, lots of individuals besides the founders that have lots of experience. Now, this is where I'm going to say that's solid, no doubt, right? But I think the recent activities has diminished credibility of the team. And although I give the team 9 out of 10, because of the current events, I have to say they're a red flag to the point that Rushi is suspended during this investigation. He is no longer active within the team. Now, I don't know what his role is, even though he's suspended. Like, is he still, what does suspension really mean? Like, does he have no authority over making any decisions or signing anything or anything? I don't know. But nonetheless, he's suspended. There you go. Now, if it becomes that he was the problem or whatever the case is, we know there was one bad actor. Does the team or the project have the capabilities of recuperating here? It could. I'm not saying it can't. It could. It could be the biggest punt ever to be buying now and see a full recovery. However, guys, until this investigation is over, at this point, we don't know if it's Rushi. We don't know if it's the whole team. We don't know. Rushi could be completely innocent of any of all these accusations, and it could just been a complete legal flop. But still, the team, has some to blame here. Let's move on. Socials. Great amount of social interaction with 200,000 followers on X. Telegram and Discord is very active, and especially lately we're getting a lot of activity there, but the FUD, it has increased the engagement lately to the point that you can't even discuss anything of value. You can't discuss anything because nobody cares at this current moment. Everybody's either saying, trying to pump their bags and trying to keep the project alive through pumpamentals and just pumping it up. Or some people are just crying because they lost a lot of money, and that's the emotional. You get in both sides of the spectrum with regards to emotions, and that's where you see socials totally collapse because you lose their value. There's no value in it, but you can't blame it. They got a great network of followers, a strong community. They had a strong community. Now I don't know how that's going to resolve in the next little while. So I would say their network platform with regards to socials and their engagement is really good. It's just diminished based on what's been happening lately. 8 out of 10 right there. Now, tokenomics aren't that bad. Okay, they aren't that bad, and typically from a new project, this is what you get. The 22.5 initiating circulating supply at TGE, if that was placed under the foundation and the foundation was a DAO, this would be so typical. Because at the end of the day, you need some capital, especially if you got some VCs to raise some of that capital, and they did raise quite a bit of capital. But the thing is that you need a little bit of grease to get the wheels moving, which means how you're going to get listed on exchanges, how you're going to get some marketing dollars, how you're going to. This is typical. This is why people don't like new projects, because usually their tokenomics are not the greatest. There's a lot of early investors that provided that liquidity that are looking for profits. We get it, but as long as it's behind the vesting schedule and they get paid little by little, so that current holders such as me and you, retail investors, don't get the shock when they start taking profit, then we have to understand this is the cost of doing business, especially with a new project. And if you understand what I mean, you get it. And if you don't, this is the problem, is that a lot of people get in with different expectations than reality. A vesting schedule is there to help prevent the dilution of the token price as people take profit, particularly the VCs and people that got in super early, right? The early stakeholders. This is the problem. The problem is where did the market makers get that capital? And how were they not in control? How was the team not in control of that capital? And in this case, we were in a completely trust-based system with the market makers. 50% of tokens are allocated to early stakeholders. If you look at the vesting, the token distribution, if you add up all of the early stakeholder tokens, that is also a big issue. Like, there's too many, although 60% goes to the community, quote unquote. If you go look at the actual, that 10%, that's already in circulation. Those are early stakeholders. They got their tokens early. That's a threat to current buyers. So we have to understand that. If there's a select group of individuals that are getting tokens super early at a super early price, those are individuals that are going to look for exit liquidity on massive pumps, right? So if the market maker pumped it up all the way up to a $5 billion market value evaluation, and all of a sudden the trigger to sell off was taken, who do you think is going to be selling, guys? Right? This is the reality. Early stakeholders sell at opportunities. Why? Because their entries were spectacular. So this is where tokenomics is a problem. And it's a 7 out of 10 because it's typical. But then again, there's a bit of an issue because for some reason, we have a market maker that went crazy and went rogue. And that's exactly what we deal with when we don't have a team that is able to negotiate contracts in the behalf of the overall project appropriately. So it's a bit of a hard one. That's such a hard thing to rate at the current moment, guys. It's very difficult. This one's a tough one. Relationships. They got a few Hyperlane, Sign Protocol, Versatis. They have other ones, Eco, Nexio, Up Network. They got a lot of small little relationships that are interesting, guys. And that's good. That's all you kind of want from a project that's been around for a few months. So here we go. I gave it 9 out of 10 because at least they're cranking out good relationships and partnerships going forward. And then exchanges, another warning in the sense that Coinbase halts trading and potentially delisting, right? It was listed on all major exchanges and then some. It would have gotten a 10 out of 10. And in fact, Binance, I'm curious as to why Binance didn't delist them from the get-go and issue a warning, a stern warning to the community. I don't know. Was it because that move was part of their incubator program? Is that possible? Like, these are things that we got to question, right? I don't know, guys, but things are not looking good. Like I would love to talk about some of these metrics, but we've seen a bit of volatility. I think the price is a bit up right now, or definitely a lot of volatility, guys. Take this with a grain of salt, but this is in general. If you were looking at right now, this is what we're at. We're talking about a market cap of $500 million. It lost, a lot of its market cap in the last little while, guys, as the sell-off keeps on coming down and down and down. Okay, so let's go on here to my verdict, guys. This is a tough one, guys. I'm just gonna throw that out there. When you're doing deep dives, you want to do it justice. You want to, make sure that you give as much value to the people that are watching and listening and learning at the same time. But it's also, you want to do it justice by the team, because the team at this current moment doesn't have much to say other than we're investigating. And they do have a third party investigating the current scenario to try to figure out what exactly happened, and who to put blame on. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's the team to blame, in my opinion, guys. Of course, feel free to let me know what you think about this in the chat, in the comment section below. It is going to be a community effort to figure out what's going on here. So what is it? My verdict: L1, L2, ZK, EVM, modular, parallel processing, made in the USA. Guys, these are all attributes that make Move interesting. And if you've been around here for a while and you saw the price, you didn't want to buy it because of the price. I get it. But at the end of the day, it, from a tech perspective and everything else that it has, it's fairly decent. Now, we could have even said, you know, Move as a language is a value proposition. Sure, but there are a lot of proprietary languages in this space. So maybe, you know, it's also a good one. TGE was December 9th, 2024, guys. So it's not that old. Like, it's fairly new. We have to understand that. 22.5% of tokens were issued to early backers, 60% ecosystem and community foundation, and the initial claims was kind of interesting, which means that at the end of the day, guys, there's some early individuals that got some early tokens that really are early investors, which at the end of the day, you know, are a risk to dilution. 17.5% to the team. Of course, they got to eat. We get it. As long as behind the vesting schedule and they get paid slow and steadily, we can't complain. A large portion of the initial supply was given to market makers. This is, again, something that I've been trying to figure out with a bit more detail and certainty. I don't think anybody other than the team is going to know exactly how many tokens of the supply was given, but I think I conclude that I think the average is at about 5%, which is still significant considering that, you know, there's not a lot of circulating supply. 25%. So that's a lot, guys, if you think about it. Let's move on from that. Because it's EVM cross-chain compatible, applications are possible basically to migrate and have that interoperability between EVM, which is good. However, native apps are there's no breakthrough. So we need a little bit more. Liberty Financial has a significant position in Move. Now, this is interesting to me because if we have Liberty Financial, if you guys know who that is, it is the Trump boys that are behind it. They've been accumulating. Now, I'm wondering if they have anything to say about this, given their position currently is not looking that great. Are they getting involved? Are they going to, maybe issue a statement? Are they going to contact the team? Is it possible that they could potentially save Move? I don't know. But this is an interesting fact, right, that we got to play into account. Current events made it difficult to have a healthy discussion regarding projects on social. The project on social right now is just a bunch of emotion, both fear and obviously pumpamentals. Tons of pumping happening right now, shilling, pumping, to the moon. We're gonna make it, we're gonna recover, this kind of stuff. And I would say right now, stay neutral. If you can, stay neutral until they figure it out. Once it gets figured out, it doesn't matter if you're buying at a little bit of a higher price. Who cares? You're buying at a level of a better certainty. And without certainty or a degree of it, you're taking too much risk. All right, guys? So consider that. Currently, guys, with the market cap of Aptos, again, I know this is going to be a tough one. I'm just saying, look, if you can catch up to Aptos, if you can do what it was meant to do, if you can get back even to its previous highs, let's say, it's going to be in a much better state right now. I can see a full recovery if things do well. It can definitely do a 10x. Okay, it could do a 10x, maybe even a 5x, maybe a little bit more modest. I don't know. And you can see my price projection. I don't know where this thing's gonna go, guys. Like my projections are usually based on the total market cap. And assuming that we're going to get fresh capital coming in, new investors coming in looking for the hottest, greatest projects that they want to speculate on and buy the dip on. But with this, is this one that I know the market is has a very short term suffers from short term memory loss. Don't forget about this in a couple of weeks. Move will be old news. It's already simmering down. But is this something that has potential for recovery? And this is the thing here. Do new individuals coming into this space give Move a shot? This is the reality. As long as this FUD is currently circulating, it's going to be very difficult for a price projection. So this is why I choose, guys. I don't know where this is going from, even from a price projection capability, because is fresh capital going to be deployed into the movement ecosystem? I don't know, guys. It's a tough. If it wasn't for the FUD, I would definitely say it's a solid 7 out of 10. But because of the FUD, it could be 0. And again, I don't know. We don't know where this is going because of the recent events. And it's so recent that I'm having a hard time even concluding anything here. So, guys, please take this with a grain of salt. Please do not be using this as a signal whatsoever. I try to give you as much of the fundamentals there, but with regards to the relationship between tokenomics and the team, we don't know what happened there, and it could be a criminal event, it could be a misunderstanding, it could be anything at this current moment, guys. So just be careful, be neutral. All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with the price action. Do we even dare look at this chart? Currently the chart looks like absolute trash, but what can we do, guys? We know what happened, we know what we're dealing with, but at least we can make some good decisions. Do we buy the dip on this thing, or do we wait for some confirmations or some sort of market structure that could give us a better entry? Let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. So as usual, guys, as usual, I wait for structure. This structure looked good. It was holding nice sideways. We broke lower lows, out. This point of interest did not result in anything special. In fact, we got a nice high, which was beautiful. But then when we came down to confirm the higher low after the higher high, we did not get it. We, in fact, got another sell-off. And now with the recent events, we know that what that sell-off was all about. Okay, so we know that there was a strategic sell-off from, market makers to make the price fall or to take profit. Now you can see that in most recent events, things were actually a little bit more concerning. None of this surprises me. Okay, none of that surprises me. What surprised me most, and most of us, was right here. Okay, and the reason why is because as this happened, this right here, Bitcoin and the rest of the space was deep in the green. We were pumping pretty nicely for 2 days. And then all of a sudden, as we saw the price hit these levels, and we've seen sell off, sell off, sell off, it could have been that at this point we saw the market makers preparing for their last dip. The problem is that there was one major wallet that caused this to happen, and that was concerning and very, very concerning. That's the wallet that I discussed earlier on in the deep dive. So the reality is that no other project broke its structure to the downside while the whole market was pumping. This thing decided to break structure to the downside, which means that this was a fearful zone. If this was going to be a liquidity hunt, okay, where it came down to tap into liquidity hunts reverse. They get back to their previous price action. These are levels of manipulation to get people induced to go short or whatever the case is, even to buy the dip and stop them out. But the reality is none of this happened. This was basically a scenario where fear sold their bags, basically. And this is one of the bigger issues now, because there's fear. Are people going to be buying the dip? Now, if people don't know about this, I'm sure there's individuals walking in saying, wow, this thing's on a downtrend. Should I buy? I might catch this bottom. They start measuring. They might say, well, if it recuperates, I'm going to get into this, because if it recuperates, I'm going to buy the Lambo. Okay, there's going to be some, but I'm going to guarantee you guys, not a lot of people are thinking this way at the current moment. Because why? The trend is your friend. Look how ugly this chart looks. Okay, with the sell pressure into this dip, it looks absolutely horrid. Okay, really, really bad. Now, could we get a recovery? Sure, it's possible. Again, fundamentals need to be clarified. That whole event, that whole issue needs to be clarified. Could we get into a reversal based on structure, a market structure on the chart? Possible. Because remember, charts are forward thinking. At the end of the day, if we can see something here, we might say, okay, maybe there's going to be a recovery. Maybe we get inverse head and shoulders. We put a stop loss. We go back up, and then you decide what you want to do here. I can bet you that there are a lot of people trapped up into this level, including myself, right? Trapped into this level, holding negative positions. The thing is that if we get up here, guys, I'm going to tell you this, there's going to be a lot of people taking profit or exiting their positions at break even. A lot. So if we get here, take your profit, wait for the corrective move, and then buy back in maybe on the corrective move. If this doesn't happen where we get rejected, guys, who knows what kind of catalyst we're getting for a full recovery. And it could be possible. It could be. We have a volume gap above. Okay, we have to understand that this is also an opportunity to see the price. This looked like it was wanting to break above as the rest of the market. I'm literally go back in time and go check out what happened exactly on that day. On that day, we was on the Friday. Okay, we were definitely doing good, and looking for a breakout because the rest of the market was doing good. Total market cap was going good, and Move decided to dump. So this is what we have to worry about: is that this level, there's tons of emotion, tons of emotion. So there's a lot of work to be done here on Move. Honestly, guys, right now, if you are willing to take a punt, this is what you got to consider it. It's a lottery ticket. And don't spend too much on the lottery ticket, guys, because at the end of the day, lottery tickets, majority of people don't win them. And yes, you could fluke it off and win it. It would be a congratulations type of scenario. But the reality is, guys, we don't know. And if you to buy here, we can keep on dripping and keep on dripping and keep on dripping until we finally either reverse or this thing gets starting to get delisted on other exchanges as well. The only concern that I have here is that perhaps Liberty Financial might have some say into this concept, right? And it might be able to kind of recuperate from that perspective. But again, guys, neutral is best at the current moment. This chart looks absolutely garbage. And TA technically gets thrown out the window unless you see some proper confirmations of some sort of reversal, strength by strength from some sort of whale out there that's willing to, accumulate for some information that this whale might know that we do not know. Just understand, people, market makers know things that we don't, and they front run all kinds of price action before we actually get the news. So pay attention for those possible events. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. If I offered you any value in this deep dive, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join the Discord, guys. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.